very cool.
Oh, well, thank you.
First time I've seen that.
Really?
Yeah.
It's called an electric unicycle.
Electric unicycle.
Yep.
My wife said your gear is really cool.
Oh, why thank you. Well, yep, hey, this is what keeps you safe in case you fall.
Yeah.
Hey, have fun. Good luck.
You as well.
So you've been out and about, and you've seen people riding EUCs, and you thought to yourself, I wonder how difficult that is to learn. That's probably a question that I get asked most when I'm out in the wild just riding around.
Look, I'm just trying to figure out how to stay on my feet.
The learning curve is tough because some folks can pick this up pretty quick, and other folks, it takes a little longer just to get the hang of it. But I do feel the wheel that you select to learn on has an impact on how fast you might pick up on those skills and actually get out there riding. Which is why I want to talk to you about the wheel I have behind me, the INMOTION V6. And this little wheel's got some special things going on. A huge thanks to INMOTION for sending me this wheel to review. For the past 3 weeks, I've been riding this wheel, putting some pressure on it so that I could not only talk about why I think this is a strong candidate for someone's first wheel to learn on, but also what are the other use cases this wheel might have to other riders who are looking for something that is ultra lightweight. Let's get into it. Out of the box, the INMOTION V6 comes with the standard stock charger, as well as an instruction manual with some QR codes, one of them taking you to download the INMOTION app, which is pretty good and works pretty seamless with this wheel. Through the app, you can monitor your mileage, your speed. You can use it to control various settings on the wheel, like tilt angle, your pedal hardness, but I really don't think that you're gonna wanna mess with the pedal hardness. My recommendation, leave it on hard. You're pretty much set to go. But if you wanna have some fun on the app, you can play with the lights. Currently, it's only set to follow speed. It does look like maybe down the road with some updates that there's gonna be different lighting effects that you can put on it. So anyone out there who's had a V10, you can kind of change that lighting scheme. I think some of the other ones you can too. As of right now, it is just currently the follow speed, which is what you see going on right back here. Just quickly looking at the body, you're gonna notice that the INMOTION V6 features spiked pedals,
which I think the pedals are pretty solid, especially for how small this thing is. I mean, I'm really comparing it to what I think this is replacing, which is the V5, or even the V8 or the V10 that had those sandpaper kind of grip pedals. I really don't want to knock those sandpaper pedals, because I never really felt like I was gonna slip off them on the V10 or the V8, because you're really not riding those crazy aggressive. I do feel though the spike pedals are going to have a little more life than what the sandpaper grip pedals had. I think also cleaning and care for them are gonna be a lot simpler. That to me, is super good.
The INMOTION V6 also features a trolley handle, but it seems to be the same type of trolley handle that you've seen on some of those other wheels like the V10 or the V8.
I think the trolley handle is pretty good. Maybe this rubber part is upgraded, that I'm not sure, but it works great.
When I was looking at some of the pre-production artwork for it, it didn't show a trolley handle, and I was kind of surprised that when I pulled it out of the box, there it is.
When I've been taking this around some public places, people have been asking me, what is that? I just keep telling them it's a vertical Roomba.
The V6 also features a headlight, which is bright enough to be noticed. At the speeds you're going, I think it illuminates your path decently well, provided that you are already in a well-illuminated area. Which really, who's riding this thing completely in the pitch black in the dark? Although, if you wanted to do that, just take a flashlight with you and I think you'll be okay. It also features a brake light, which is decently visible, but if you're riding on a path, I think people are still gonna be staring directly at your back. So hand signals if you have to make an abrupt stop. I always think hand signals are the way to go. But you know what? I like that this thing's bright and visible. It also features a speaker.
So the advertised speaker on this thing, let's just check that out real quick.
I think the speaker is well enough for you standing over top of it, riding along to enjoy. And I don't think it's gonna impose on too many other people, especially for where you're gonna ride this. You're probably gonna ride this on walking paths, on trails, on some slower bike lanes in the city, places where you're gonna see a lot of foot traffic.
But it's not like blasting loud where people are gonna sneer at you and be like, hey, no one wants to hear your stuff.
But I wanna hear my music, and I think it's loud enough for that. I think the first thing I immediately noticed when this box arrived to me was obviously the weight. When I pulled this thing out, I was almost a little worried that I was gonna break it because it just felt so light. The weight of this wheel only being 27.6 pounds, this thing's built like a little mini tank. I probably wrecked this thing trying to be stupid on it multiple times, and it only has minor scuffs. The shell's not cracked, the trolley handle's not damaged. So if you're someone who's gonna learn, and when you're learning, you're inevitably going to drop it, the body on this V6 is pretty tough. And I think this thing can take a beating. So, learner approved there. One feature about the INMOTION V6 that I really just can't talk enough about, the wide tire on this wheel is just awesome.
It carves nice. That big tire carves nice.
It's not so much that I'm talking about the 14-inch diameter of the tire. It's the 3 inches of width that this tire has. When I'm riding the V6, I find myself just wanting to carve on that wheel as I'm going about because it's fun. When I ride the INMOTION V10, that tire, it's a lot thinner. I felt like there was a little more involved with balancing it, but when I got into my other wheels with the fatter tires, I felt like I could just come to a stop and just continue standing on it very easily. If you're someone who is getting this wheel to learn on, that 3-inch width of that tire, I really feel is going to aid in being easier to mount and dismount because it just feels more stable out of the gate.
This wheel's incredibly maneuverable. I mean, let's say you start it on a big wheel and you're just looking to maybe refine some skills and do some nice hairpin turns. I think on this thing, you could achieve that no problem.
I don't feel like I'm really moving much. I'm just pivoting on that wide 3-inch, 14-inch diameter tire, and as I make decisions, it's just happening. I feel like there's moments where I forget that I'm riding something. I'm just moving through space.
So the motor on this INMOTION V6 is rated at 500 nominal watts of power with 1,000 peak watts of power.
And it can handle an 18-degree incline, which the riding that you would be doing for this wheel, I'm not sure where you would be that you need to go steeper than that 18-degree incline.
Now, me living in Pittsburgh, we do have some steep hills, but I'm not taking it on roadways. I'm taking it where people would normally walk. And yeah, there's some inclines. Now, I have no way of measuring what those inclines are, but the V6 goes up them no problem.
So this is a pretty steep hill for the area, and I'm gliding up it relatively easy. But with the 360, you can never really gauge the steepness, and I don't have a tool to do it. But I would say the hill kind of had this angle to it, and this V6 just went right up it. If you're gonna make this scale a mountain, you're probably going to be carrying it, but at least it's 27.6 pounds.
So on the tire, you're gonna see that it has that angled Schrader valve that's on the rim. It can be a little tough to get to, but if you do have a wheel like this, you probably have one of those Schrader valve extenders. That definitely is kind of a must-have when you're dealing with some of those angled tubes. So the battery that comes in this wheel, it is 240 watt hours.
This doesn't necessarily have the highest in terms of watt hours, but I feel for what you'd be using it for and what you're doing, it does pretty well.
But the thing that I think is actually really cool to talk about is the battery is UL certified. And what makes that UL certification great is it means that this battery has been tested for things like short circuiting or overcharging so that there's no unknown hazards of what can happen. You know, there was other wheels. The batteries are known to where it was maybe a bad batch and they caught on fire. That's kind of a scary thing, especially if you're looking into getting into this. You're probably thinking, hey, what if that happens to me? I think knowing that this battery has that certification, it definitely gives some peace of mind.
But I also do want to talk about the range. The 18.6 proposed miles of range with this full battery. I think it's possible. However, I think the conditions have to be perfect, meaning you are riding flat and the wind is not blowing at you. And I also think that you'd be traveling at about 3 to 4 miles an hour, a walking pace. That's where I think that range is probably more realistic.
It is advertised at 15.5 miles per hour top speed, which yes, it'll do that. But as soon as it hits it, if you have all your warnings off, that thing it's gonna let you know it's not going any further.
For most people that would have this wheel, I feel like the speed in which you're gonna travel is probably gonna be between 6 and 8 miles an hour.
And you know, that could be a jogger or a runner's pace.
I think it's where you're gonna get the most out of your speed as well as battery. Pushing it any harder, you're taking that range down a lot faster. And what I've been noticing is I'm living between 9 and 12 miles per a full charge when I'm riding it at around that 8 miles per hour speed. So something to think about.
I mean, even if you're riding at performance, 9 miles in a city, that covers a lot of distance. So this easily could be how you get around, and it can take you to a lot of cool places.
Now, when it comes to settings on this wheel, my recommendation would be do not turn off your alarms, because I feel like the alarms on this wheel are indeed your friend. They are going to prevent you from hitting that 15.5 mile an hour top speed, because when you hit it, the wheel's gonna let you know, hey, I'm done. So legs, activate. My advice would be set your alarms to around 10.7 miles per hour, even 11, because it's gonna at least give you a little warning and a little headroom as you sneak up to that speed. And it's just gonna keep you from having an unintentional cutout. Unintentional being that you didn't want that to happen. Maybe you did. I did it a couple times.
They say it takes 5 hours to charge from empty to full.
I've had this thing charged up a few times from, I would say, 20%. And I feel like it's not too far off from that. But I definitely feel like I've charged it a little quicker. So that might just be a safety precaution on their part, but I do feel like it was slightly faster.
The charger this wheel comes with, you could fit this in a cargo pant pocket and probably forget that it's there.
If I'm gonna stop somewhere at length, I can plug something in that's probably no bigger than a laptop's charger and give the wheel a little more juice before I get back on the road. So I think it charges pretty easy. I think this is generally an all-around, easy to maintain wheel that's gonna have a lot of utility down the road.
Some conversations that I've had with others have been, why would you want to learn on something so small? You're just gonna grow right out of it. And I think people might be missing a point. I have known folks who've gotten into EUCs and they started on something big with the idea that you're going to grow into it. And that's not a bad choice to take. However, I've watched them struggle to learn how to ride these wheels. And they're just as physically capable as anyone else. It wasn't until they went to a wheel that was significantly lighter, they actually started building the skills they needed to confidently ride.
Let's be honest too, when you're learning, the exciting thing is speed. But I think that should come absolutely last. The most important controls, in my opinion, to focus on is the simple ones. And that is being able to turn when you intend to turn, being able to stop when you intend to stop, as well as accelerate when you intend to accelerate. Having full control over your body in the direction in which you are going is the most important critical thing to really train. And when you are beginning that journey, you also want to focus on what environments am I riding in and what type of maneuvering is required of me while I am in the environments I plan to travel.
If you're in a public area, you're gonna run into stop signs. You're gonna have to stop, get off the wheel, get back on the wheel, accelerate, brake, turn. a bunch of things that are just general maneuverability while you're out and about. And sometimes when you are on a larger wheel, it can be a little daunting when you're in those emergency situations of having to make very fast, abrupt decisions to control that wheel so you don't get hurt or no one around you gets hurt. When you have a lighter weight wheel, building those skills is far easier because you have something that your body can easily manage. And that's where I think the V6 has a special place, and it should have a special consideration. Now there's other wheels that are near it. There's the V9, which I haven't had a chance to try it. I've seen some folks out in the wild ride it, and it looks to be pretty impressive. But even then, you don't realize sometimes the pedal height can be a challenge when you're learning how to mount and dismount the wheel. So as a beginner wheel, I think it's phenomenal. And I think it's a great place for most people to be. And yes, you're gonna grow out of it. As you develop your skills more, you are going to want more. And that's where this wheel is now a stepping stone to where you can confidently learn those skills and decide what is it you want out of that next wheel because you are now growing into them. If you're someone who started on a lightweight wheel, share your experience in the comments. Other new riders might benefit from hearing your story and how you started and what was that like for you. So who do I think this wheel's for? I really feel like InMotion designed this to be a great starting point for people who want to get into riding EUCs. So you're not a beginner. You're someone who has a lot of experience riding. And maybe you've been thinking to yourself, it'd be fun to mess around with a small wheel again. I think this wheel has use cases as that last mile solution for people who commute to different areas like colleges, large work campuses, or just general travel within a city or a town. Having something small, portable, and lightweight bridging the gap as a little local commuter, I think now the V6 has a lot of utility. You know, one thing I don't like doing is when I go to Pittsburgh, parking is never really great. I usually try to find that one parking spot where I'm like, this is great. I'm willing to walk everywhere I need to go so that I don't have to keep finding new parking spots and fight that little mini traffic as I'm going from place to place. But if I had the V6, I wouldn't really be thinking about that at all. I would just go park in the spot that I'm gonna park, and I'd use this to get everywhere I needed to go within that city, and problem solved. That's where I think this wheel has utility. That's where I think it has value, especially at only being $450. And if you are interested in this wheel, I posted a link in the description that will take you to the InMotion page where you can find the V6. And I got even better news. If you use the code ODINRIDER, you can save $50 on this InMotion V6 or other wheels from InMotion. It also helps support the channel, and that's a little new to me. But if I can save you $50, I'm gonna do it. And if I can help bring some insights or answer questions for people who are looking at new products that are out there, especially if I get my hands on them, I'm gonna keep doing it because this is fun and I think the community is a great one. You know, special thanks to Jordan Lemberg for riding the V6, letting me film him and being part of the video. So stay tuned for more to come because I look forward to seeing you all out there sailing the concrete seas.